So I've got to tell you this story. It's not mine, it's from this guy, Jake. Late 20s, loves the outdoors. He's one of those people who goes hiking solo, you know? Just him in the wild. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, he decides to take a hike deep into the Appalachian Mountains, right? Late fall, leaves everywhere. The air cold enough to make your breath fog up. I was looking forward to the quiet. Just me, the trail, and nature all around. I had been out there for a few hours. Everything seemed normal when I spotted this overgrown path. It wasn't on my map, just a narrow trail, barely visible under the brush. Most people would have ignored it, but not me. I was curious. It felt like it could lead somewhere interesting. So, against my better judgment, I stepped off the main trail. That's where things started to get strange. The deeper I went, the quieter it got. Like too quiet. No birds, no animals. Just me and the sound of my boots crunching on the leaves. At first, I thought maybe it was just the time of year, that animals were hiding from the cold. But then I started noticing these weird carvings in the trees. Strange symbols, nothing I'd ever seen before. They looked old, ancient even, and they sent a shiver down my spine. I tried to shake it off, but that's when I started hearing things. Whispers, soft, like they were being carried by the wind, but the wind wasn't blowing. At first it was faint, and I convinced myself it was just my mind playing tricks. But the more I listened, the more it sounded like actual voices, like something or someone was out there, just beyond the trees. That night, I set up camp like I always did. Got my tent up, made a fire. But the whole time, I felt like I was being watched. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just the isolation getting to me. But as the fire crackled and the night grew darker, those whispers started up again, louder this time. They felt like they were just outside the glow of my fire, circling me. I grabbed my flashlight and scanned the woods, but there was nothing, just darkness. The next night was even worse. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, circling my tent. I called out, thinking it was another hiker, but no one answered. I unzipped the tent and looked outside. Nothing. But the moment I laid back down, the footsteps started again. It felt like someone was messing with me, staying just out of sight. I was freaked out, but I wasn't ready to leave yet. The next day, I pushed deeper into the woods, and that's when I found it. An old campsite, abandoned. The tents were still there, rotting and covered in dirt and leaves. The gear inside was decayed, like it had been there for decades. Then, inside one of the tents, I found a journal. The pages were torn and stained, but the writing was frantic. Incoherent ramblings about the Watchers. Over and over, there were these scribbled warnings. I didn't know what it meant, but it unnerved me. I couldn't stop thinking about those whispers, about the feeling of being watched. That night, everything came to a head. I barely had the fire going when I felt something grab at my gear, like someone was pulling at my backpack and tent. My stuff was tossed around the campsite, and then, just like that, the fire went out. I tried to relight it, but something knocked my lighter out of my hand. Then the whispers. They weren't whispers anymore. They were voices, clear, all around me, telling me to leave. I panicked. I grabbed my stuff and started running, but no matter which way I went, the trail kept looping back to that abandoned campsite. It was like the forest was playing tricks on me, trapping me. I ran for what felt like hours, but I couldn't escape. The whispers got louder, and the feeling of being watched turned into something worse. Like they weren't just watching me anymore. They were hunting me. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. I collapsed, out of breath, and that's when I felt them. Cold hands grabbing me, pulling me into the ground. I tried to fight, tried to scream, but I couldn't move. The voices were all around me, telling me it was over, that I didn't belong there. The next thing I remember is waking up back on the main trail, my gear scattered around me. My tent, my bag, everything was gone. It was like I'd been dumped there. left with nothing but the clothes on my back. I stumbled out of the woods and never looked back. A few days later, a search party found my camp, but I was gone. My footprints led deep into the woods and then just stopped, like I vanished into thin air. They found that journal too, the one I'd been carrying. But the weird thing, the pages were blank. Every single one of them. To this day, no one knows what happened to me. Some people think I got lost and didn't make it out. But after everything I went through, I think something else is out there. Something watching.